Hey, this is Paul from Wondershare MobileTrans, and today is a very exciting day for us on the channel because it is the release of the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro. And what we're going to do is we're going to unbox and take a look at both of these phones and compare them side by side so you know exactly what is the phone for you when you go to pick one of yours up. And remember, the competition is still going on for you to win your very own iPhone 14 without having to spend a single penny on buying one. And if you want to know more about that, we will let you know about that further on in the video. But of course, like always, if you're new here to the channel, why not subscribe? Hit the like button as well, because we're giving away an iPhone 14. What's not to like? And make sure you turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out any of the videos that we have coming up on the channel. But now, let's get into unboxing and having a look at both the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro. We have the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro Max at the moment, so let's start with the iPhone 14, as that's the phone we're giving away, and do our unboxing. The iPhone 14 is a fantastic new phone, but people are already saying that the iPhone 13 and 14 are quite similar, and of course that was released a year ago. The iPhone 13 is essentially identical to the iPhone 14 and $100 less expensive, whereas the iPhone 14 Pro, which we'll unbox later, brings some intriguing new capabilities. Of course, whilst we're unboxing this, it would be silly not to mention the iPhone 14 Plus, which is coming out in just a couple of weeks time, and that has a 6.7 inch screen, where as you can see this one has a 6.1 inch screen. You of course get some new exciting features with the iPhone 14, as improved sensors on the primary camera and slightly larger apertures and autofocus on the selfie camera. You also get the car crash detection and satellite SOS, but other than that, that is it, and it is almost identical to the iPhone 13. And as we were going through that there, you can see that you don't get a lot in the box. But let's have a look now at the flagship phone, shall we? And let's unbox that brand new iPhone 14 Pro. With the 14 Pro, Apple demonstrated why it has remained relevant in this business at a time where most people assumed that the company had run out of innovations. There's a bit more to say about the iPhone 14 Pro, and the first thing is that it gets Apple's new A16 Bionic chipset, which is more powerful and has a quicker GPU than last year's. And if you're a camera freak, then you get that 48 megapixel new sensor, and you can get that when you shoot in Pro RAW. And because of that 48 megapixel camera, people want to take photos for longer, so we have a really good battery inside the 14 Pro as well. And there's obviously a new big thing: there's no notch. We now have the dynamic island, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. There we go, there is the unboxing of both the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro. So let's have a bit of a deeper dive into them and see which one might be right for you. So the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro, let's have a look at those two together. And first of all, the iPhone 14 seems like a bit of a small upgrade from the iPhone 13 last year, except now they've ditched the mini and there's a 14 Plus coming out in just a couple of weeks, where if you have a look at the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, these seem like completely new devices. Let's have a look at the design difference between these two devices. The first area where the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro differ is in that design, whereas the normal 14 resembles the same as the iPhone 13 from last year, even down to the diagonal camera lens configuration and narrower notch. The 14 Plus, when it comes out, is a bigger version of it with a 6.7 inch display, and that is going to be an absolute champion for battery. However, you then turn your attention to the 14 Pro, and it seems that's where Apple turned their attention as well. The back design is very similar to last year's phone, although we now have larger cameras and that 48 megapixel primary sensor. Although you look at the 14 Pro and that notch has gone and is being replaced by the broad pill-shaped cutout that serves the main focus of what Apple calls its dynamic island. Having this new dynamic island means that when notifications come in, it's a lot different to what we used to have in last year's phones. The feature seems slick in the keynote, and from what we've used so far, it is as slick as it seemed in that presentation. Let's now just look at the displays on the phones, and the regular 14 and 14 Pro both have that 6.1 inch display, whereas the bigger phones, the Pro and the Plus, will have that 6.7 inch display, and the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus have really good resolutions, and so do the Pro and the Pro Max. And in terms of brightness this year, Apple touts both the phones and basic models as having insanely bright displays. The iPhone 14 has a peak HDR brightness of 1200 nits, whilst the iPhone 14 Pros has a huge peak brightness of 2000 nits. And that is the brightest we've ever seen on an iPhone. So outside in bright sunlight, you're going to be able to see every single bit of that display. And of course, it wouldn't be a video without talking about the cameras, and they've both been updated on the 14 and 14 Pro. The iPhone 14 features a larger 12 megapixel sensor and a quicker 1.5 aperture, and a 49% improvement in low light performance. All four iPhone 14 models now have a 12 megapixel front-facing camera with an improved hybrid focus system. This should result in clearer selfies, and Apple also included the Photonic engine in the iPhone 14 series, which leverages artificial intelligence to improve low light photography across all three cameras. We now just need to talk about performance of both of these phones. Whereas the Pro gets the A16 Bionic and the iPhone 14, that sticks with the A15 Bionic from last year. The 14's chip though does get a 5-core GPU, which is the same as the 13 Pros from last year. It even outperforms Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 just by a little bit. The iPhone 14 Pro receives that new A16 Bionic processor with a hexa-core CPU, pentacore GPU, and 16-core neural engine, which basically means that this is going to be incredibly quick. So if you ever need to do any sort of professional work on the iPhone 14 Pro, there won't be any sort of lagging at all, and if you're into games, this could be something for you as well. Now, let's talk to you about that competition that we are running here at MobileTrans, and that is to win yourself a brand new iPhone 14. When you get a new phone, you never want to lose any sort of your data, and if you use MobileTrans, you won't, because it is the best phone option for tracking your memory. And remember, nothing will change after your transfer. If you want to win the iPhone 14, then let me tell you exactly what you need to do, and it's nice and simple. First of all, you need to like the post on Facebook and follow MobileTrans over there. You then need to tag 2 friends and leave a photo or response to the question, what is your most surprising old photo after transferring to a new phone? You then need to share the post with the hashtags #nothing changed after transfer and #MobileTransfer. All you have to do is make sure that you've entered before the 7th of October, and why not give it a go? It's free and you could land yourself a brand new iPhone 14. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. We've unboxed and had a detailed look at the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Pro. So let us know in the comments below, which one are you getting and in which color this year are you going for? If you enjoyed the video, why not give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the videos that we have coming up on the channel. And if you do all of that, we will see you in the next video.